The reason that this error is happening where you have kind of these dashed lines is because of phasing. So this door right here, if I look over, when I click on it and select it, I see the phase created is the new construction phase, okay? And if I click on my wall, I see that my wall is in an existing phase, right? And so Revit is smart enough to know that if a brand new door is going into an existing wall, that means that you have to cut out a portion of the existing wall and then install a brand new door, okay? So these dashed lines essentially indicate demo, right? So Revit is saying, hey, in order for you to put a new door here, we have to demo out that piece of wall, and then we're going to install a new door, okay? So to remedy that, right, you could take that door and you could change it to existing, and then you have a door that looks right. We're seeing the floor right there, but that will make it look right. So if you're having some troubles like that, it's because you're phasing, okay? With phasing, right? I guess I'll just kind of go a little bit on tangent right here, but with phasing, you also have some phase filters that go along with phasing, okay? And what, are you having some troubles back there? Is that?
Someone decided to play with the screen, so they're backwards.
Oh, here, let me.
No, like I can access it from the right side. Just...
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm sorry. Isn't that funny? We all get our little ways the ways we like to work, right? You'll probably fight it all semester, and every time you come back, it'll be changed back the way. Okay, anyway, so we have some phase filters, right? So here, you know, the current phase that I'm viewing is new construction. And so that means that I will see all of essentially the existing information plus anything new. So that is what kind of also makes me see these dashed lines, okay? If I change my phase filter from I'm going to stay in phase new construction. If I change my phase filter to show demo plus new, right? I only see the demoed parts plus new construction. So the floor is obviously on a new phase, the furniture's on a new phase, etc. Okay. If I change this to show new, then only new items on new construction are going to show. Okay. Previous plus demo. I don't see any new items. I just see existing, which is the previous phase, plus the demoed items. Okay. So you can also, you know, you can manipulate your phases. You can change things to and from an existing or a new phase, and then you can also change your phase filter to just be able to view what you want to be able to view, right? So I think generally on a project I'm working on, if I want to see just a regular old floor plan, I want to see anything existing, you know, any of the existing architecture plus new architecture. I usually will show previous plus new. So that demoed wall right there goes away, even though it kind of exists in space in Revit. It goes away and I just see the new door, the existing wall, but not that infill that was there. Okay, so you can play around with these, right, and get to know the phase filters. If you change this phase from new construction to existing, right, I only see existing. Okay, so that's another thing you can do. New construction, apply. There's all my existing stuff and my new. Existing only shows existing, not new. Okay. Okay. It's not a pain in the neck. It's actually really helpful. Phasing is really helpful, but it's something that you have to be mindful of, right? Something else to keep track of. Okay. So let's talk about stairs. All right. Talk about vertical circulation. I'm going to go into a 3D view here, and I've got a hole in my roof. I'm going to turn my section box on here. This section box, if you can't quite remember, here's my section box. Right? If I uncheck it, it goes away, hopefully. If I check it, there it is, right? If I click on it, I can look at my house. There we go. So we do have some stairs in this house. I'm going to delete my ceiling out for now. This is what gets me in trouble. I do all these weird things and then my model doesn't work. Anyway, let's talk about how we can add stairs. And really kind of the first thing that we need to talk about when we add stairs is how we're going to define them and how we're going to allow them to grow through the house. Meaning, do they start at the main level and go to the upper level? Do they start at the main level and go to the third level? You know, how do they interact with the different levels of the house? Do they go through the floor or the exterior? You know, kind of how do things work? The first thing I'm going to do here is I want to talk about how we allow stairs to be defined from a main level to an upper level. Okay, and I guess when I say that, I mean, you know, we can't have stairs that sort of move through a floor, right? We have to have a hole in the floor for the stairs to live in, right? Makes sense. If I look at my main level here, here's my main level. This is where my stairs are going to go. They're going to start here, move up, 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 landing, landing, up, 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 right? And we're going to end up on the upper level, okay? Which means that there has to be a floor for these stairs to sit on the main level, unless we're going to go to the basement, which we're not just yet. And when I go to my upper level, let's go to, oh geez, I really need to get this in order. What is my upper level called? Level 2, oh, that's right. We'll go to level 4. Okay. Here's my upper level. So those stairs that were below here, I do have an opening in the floor for those stairs to kind of flow through, okay? Now, how do I know if this opening is the right size? Well, I'm going to hit escape and clear out any commands that I have going, and I'm going to come over here to underlay, and I'm going to choose main level. And that will allow me to see my main level and to kind of see, you know, a shadow or a ghosting of where my lower level elements are, and how now I can coordinate where this opening is on my upper level with my lower level stair, okay? So the first thing we want to do when we are thinking about stairs is we need to make sure there's an area for them to, you know, to live in, essentially, okay? So I'm going to create a hole in my floor. Here's my floor. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to hit edit boundary. And I can see here that my stairs go somewhere in this area. I might not get the opening perfect the first time, but you know, just typical to Revit, I create something, I define something, and then I come back and I revise it when I have everything kind of in place, okay? So my opening doesn't need to be this big. I'm going to click and bring it, you know, further down, and it is likely going to come down to here, but I'm just going to make it a little bit larger, just, you know, so that I can make sure I get everything right. I'm going to drag this one out so that it goes beyond this wall, maybe right there. And AL, align, click, and align it there. The one kind of problem I have left is that there's a little piece of floor right here, right, which we don't want. Now, I can't take this and kind of align it to there because I'll have overlapping lines and my floor won't work, right? And so I can't delete this and leave this kind of a U-shaped because then the opening won't work on my sketch, right? So when I'm creating a stair that is up against an exterior wall, essentially when I draw my floor, I'm going to draw it so that I've got these pieces that outline it, come down and around, and then I'm going to leave this open. So I'm going to split this line right here, SL, split, click, and I'm going to trim, TR, click, click, that opening back, because essentially you wouldn't really have any floor there, right? The wall would just continue up right there. It'd be framed all the way up and you wouldn't have any floor engaging it. So we're just going to leave a little U shape and kind of mask out that, you know, floor area. Okay. So there's my floor opening. And again, I turned on the underlay in this view so that I could see the ghosted lower level elements. I'm going to hit finish. And there is my floor, okay? All right, so we have a, you know, we have an opening now defined for our stairway. I'm gonna type SD shade so that I can see my floor, right? You'll see me doing that a lot. I switch between hidden line and shaded view just so I can, you know, differentiate things visually. Helps me a lot. So I can see my opening there and I can see these lines below, so that all kind of makes sense, okay? All right, let's talk about stairs. We're going to talk about two different types of stairs in this class. We have a component stair and we have a sketched stair, okay? A component stair is also called an assembled stair, and it is essentially kind of a predefined stair that generates as you draw it, all right? It generates kind of real time. It's very easy to use. All right, And then we also have a sketch stair. A sketch stair is going to be more of a kind of a custom shaped stair that you have to draw the bounding elements on it to make it generate, right? So if I come up here without saying any more about the stair tool, click on stair, and oops, sorry, let me cancel back out. I feel like I'm missing okay, never mind. Anyway, so I click on run here, click, I hit finish. That's an assembled stair, right? I clicked, sorry, I moved in the direction I wanted to go. And if I view in 3D, I have a stair right here that has a railing, it has the treads, it has the risers, it has its stringers, right? And it's all assembled, right? Hence the assembled stair. So that's what an assembled stair is going to look like. You can make these, you know, most any shape. So you can make them switchback or winding or whatever you want them to be, right? Straight run, just like this one. So, you know, that's a pretty helpful tool, okay? I think what is happening here, my section box is cutting it off. There we go. So there's my assembled stair, okay? We have all the pieces, right? We've got the stringers on the outside here. We've got the tread, which is this horizontal piece, right, that you put your foot on, and then we have the riser right here, the vertical rise of the stair, and we also have the hand railing. Okay, now this is an assembled stair. An assembled stair has generally all the pieces you need. That's why it's called assembled. Okay, if I click on the actual stair itself, click, hopefully, here we go. You're going to notice over here under properties, I have a stair type, right? Sound familiar? We have wall types, we have floor types, we have roof types, we also have stair types, okay? And the stair types, in terms of creating a new stair type, function just like a wall type or a roof type or a floor type, right? If I wanted to create a new type of stair, I would click on my stair, I would hit edit type, I would duplicate, rename, and then redefine my stair to create a new type, okay? So just in general, that's how the stair is going to work. This is an assembled stair. It's an assembled stair because when you draw it, it has all of the elements kind of predefined and they draw assembled, right? The assembly is connected with the stair type. The stair type functions just like a wall type or a floor type or a roof type. To create a new one, I can hit edit, duplicate, rename, hit save, and then redefine, okay? All right, so that's stair type number 1. Now, I want to just kind of, you know, look at this stair, and I want to show you some of the options we have within our stair to kind of manipulate, okay? We have a base level, right? Sounds familiar? Just like with a wall or a door or window or whatever, we have a base level that we're going to associate our stair with, right? So my base level is level 4, which was in actuality, level number 2, right? We all know I had some issues with my model last week. And then I have a top level, okay? What's really nice about Revit stairs is that, you know, for those of you that have been in industry for a while, how many of you have had to calculate stairs, right? Yeah, there you juniors like, yep. It's a pain in the neck, right? It's a pain in the neck. And what's really nice about Revit is that you define the parameters. You say it's going to go from level 1 to level 2, and Revit knows how far apart those two things are. And you define it to say, hey, I don't want the treads to be, or sorry, the risers to be any taller than 7 inches. And I don't want the treads to be any wider than 11 inches, right? So you predefine, you tell Revit, hey, I have these parameters that you can't exceed. Here is where it's going to start, here's where it's going to stop, and it calculates everything for you, right? So I'm going to hit edit type on this, and I'm going, edit type. You'll notice I have calculation rules here. If I hit edit, I'm not going to worry about this. I just want to show you that Revit will say, you know, with all of these things that you have defined in here, this is how big our steps are going to be, and, you know, etc. So we have a minimum tread depth, we have a maximum riser height, right? And essentially, Revit will tell you, well, with this maximum and this minimum, you get, you know, 15 risers and whatever, okay? So that's one really nice thing about Revit stairs. They sort of self-calculate within the parameters that you establish, okay? Assembled stairs are very easy to manipulate, right? When I select the stair, and this is the type of stair I'm working with, the 7-inch max riser, 11-inch tread, I can hit edit type, and I can change the maximum riser height, right? 7 3/4, right? Minimum tread depth, 10 inches. Minimum run width, let's say 5 foot, enter, right? I can hit OK. It doesn't really like what I've done, but I can, so it errored out, but I can redefine these things actually pretty easily, okay? So that's how an assembled stair functions, okay? We have all of the assembled items. It is tied to a type. We can edit the type, duplicate it, redefine it, do whatever we want to do with it, okay? Another really nice thing about these stairs is that if I select the stair, I can see, you know, how many items are in it. I can see that we have, you know, this many risers, and the tread depth is this, and, you know, we start with number 1, okay, which sounds funny, but you could actually start with 0, like there's not a tread or a riser or whatever, okay? So pretty easy to function with, or to use and function with. All right, when I'm in a floor plan view, this is what my stairs look like. So Revit knows what a set of stairs is supposed to look like in a floor plan view, right? If you think about this, okay, a floor plan, when you draw a floor plan, you draw it as if you had taken the floor plan that you're drawing, you'd cut it at a 3 to 4 foot height and drawn everything that you saw below that 3 foot level, right? So this stair is no different, right? This cut mark, this little mark right here is a cut mark. Everything below 3 feet we see, and everything above 3 feet is dashed, right? Indicating there's something there, but it's above the cut line, right? Revit has an up arrow, so we see the stairs are moving up. We see that you have this many stairs before 3 feet happens. We see that it cuts, and then it extends beyond that boundary, okay? Pretty nice. Let me just show you, we have, oops, here's my stair. I'm gonna do my next stair here. Let me just do a quick little, there's one, okay. What did I just do there? Here we go. Okay, before top of wall, okay. I'm gonna do a landing. I think I need to get in my, hold on, let me go into my main level. Main level. Okay. Well, before I do the landing, let me show you the other type of stair first. All right, so stair type number 1, assembled stair. Okay, stair type number 2, we have more of a custom type stair, and it's a sketched stair. All right, so if I come up here to stair, if I just start drawing, right, I get an assembled stair. Okay, you're also going to notice that we have a sketch option here. So these little icons here, this will create an assembled stair that is a straight run, a spiral, a curved center end spiral, a winder, and then we have our U-shaped winder. Okay, so our assembled stairs kind of come in these predefined shapes. If something is not within those predefined shapes, you're going to create a sketch. So I'm going to click on sketch, and sketch will allow me to draw really, in addition to all of those predefined ones, I could still draw those predefined ones. I could still draw a spiral or a winder or switchback, whatever, right? But I could also, you know, create some custom stair shape that is not within the scope of the assembled stair. Okay, so when I'm sketching a custom stair, I have a couple of things that I need to define. I have a boundary and I have risers. All right. I want you to notice all of the same parameters for the properties are there. So we need to define a base constraint. We need to define a top constraint. We need to define a stair type, right? But instead of just creating, you know, a click, click, there's my stair, we're going to define its path more clearly using boundary lines and risers, essentially. Okay. So boundary lines, you have to have 2 of them, one on either side of the stair. And generally, I'm not going to draw it over here in my, well, maybe I will. Let's just draw it over here in my stairway. So if I were to sketch a stair for this set of stairs, I'd have one boundary here, right? And it kind of defines that outer edge, right? And then I'd have an inner boundary, right? So this one that kind of maybe follows this wall, goes to there, okay? So I have one continuous line, and it is 3 segments, but it's considered one continuous line. That's the outer boundary. And I have a continuous inner boundary, all right? Don't be confused by the fact that we haven't sort of closed these off with a region. With stairs, you don't close them off with the boundary, you close them off with risers, okay? So once I have my boundary sort of established, outer, inner, I am going to define my risers. So boundary, risers, click, okay? One thing you're gonna notice here, and you'll see this on assembled stairs as well, somewhere ghosted in, and this happens to be the place where it happens here, it shows me, Revit shows me how many risers I've created and how many I need to create in order to finish this stair, all right? So this says 0 risers have been created, you have 14 left to create. So click, click, 1 riser created, 13 remaining, right? So that's kind of my first step up. The way that I generally go about creating my stairs with a sketch is I kind of define, you know, my limits, I guess is maybe one way of saying it, right? We're not going to get this perfect on this first step, this first try, so these are going to be wonky stairs, right? But we'll get the idea there. So here's my first riser. You know, I define kind of my landing. Here's my other landing line, my riser, and then like a top riser, okay? What you would ideally do is you would, you know, figure out how many stairs you want on this side and how many stairs you want on this side. Bless you. And then you would equally space your risers so that your stairs are nice and equal, right? But I'm just going to draw risers in. They may not look quite right, just to get them in there to show you how it's going to function. So if I draw another riser here, click, click, 5 risers. I have 9 remaining. So I'm just going to start drawing these, right? Looks somewhat correct. I have 6 more remaining. Okay, great. So 1, 2, 3, right? So we're gonna get these 4. Uh-oh. It's gonna be a big stair. There we go. 5, 6. There's my weird. Oh, we have 1 more remaining, so we'll just throw one in there. Oh, look at that!
That's pretty cool.
You guys see our little tiny that didn't take very long at all to build. Our little tiny Statue of Liberty from our 3D printer. That's amazing.
It actually worked.
Can I have it for my skyline when you're done?
Did you want it?
Yeah, but not right now. There you go. For my window skyline in my office.
Nice.
That got new carpet this weekend. Yay. All right. So here are my stairs, okay? Boundary, 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 outer edge, boundary, 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 inner edge, and then my risers fill in those blanks. Now, when I started doing this, I would actually get a lot of errors in these stairs, and it was normally because I would forget that I don't need a boundary at the edges. I would always just kind of draw it in, not realizing I had done it, and then it would error, and I'd be thinking, why is this stair erroring, and end up redrawing, and it was normally it was because I would just forget I needed a riser there instead of a boundary, okay? So you may want to pay attention to that. But you're going to draw in all your risers, right? And the amount of risers is defined by Revit's calculation. Revit's calculation knowing that you have a base, you have a top to this stair, you know, that's however many feet in inches, and you're requesting that you can't have a riser taller than 7 inches and a tread that is bigger than, you know, 11 inches.
So every time I go to draw my riser in, like you just did, it's connecting to something else, so it's not giving me the offer I want.
Let me look real quick.
Not the inches.
Yeah, you're I can show you guys.
Oh, that's not.
You can't really snap
That's
it.
3.
No. Good old F3. Old habits die hard, right? Yeah, no. What I would probably do is I would just use that reference line. Oh, open switch on. So you might do it. Delete that section, those references. Okay. Here's the problem with kind of, obviously you all don't know a lot about Revit yet, right? So we're getting to the point now, you're going to learn about dimensions pretty soon. Dimensions are going to help you accurately place things like this, right? So I have all these risers and I want them equidistant, but I don't really know, other than kind of copying them at certain intervals, how to get them to function properly, right? It's a lot of effort. So Corey was saying, hey, I'm trying to draw this riser, but you know, snapping to another line I have over here, and how do I get that to work? And I get it's kind of a pain in the neck, but in another week or two, I think everything's going to run a lot more smoothly for you in Revit, hopefully. But essentially, if, you know, kind of going a little bit off topic, if I wanted to get these all equidistant, I would go to annotate, and I would just choose an aligned dimension, right? You all don't have to know anything about dimensions to add these in here. I would click, 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 zoom in, click, 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 and then I'd click in space, click, and I get all of these dimensions. There's a little equal sign right here. If I click that, you see how it made those all equal. You'll use that a ton in Revit, right? So click, 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 pull it out into space, click in nowhere, click, equal. And I can delete those, right? Not something that we do in AutoCAD a lot, right? Use offset, use mirror, but this is something that you use a lot in Revit. All right, so I've got all my stairs and they're all generated. I have 14 risers. I don't have any remaining for how I've defined this stair, okay? One final thing we have to worry about with a sketched stair that we don't have to worry about as much with an assembled stair is that right now, this boundary, the way we've drawn it in a whole piece, is telling Revit that we're going to slope our stair from here all the way to there, right? Which isn't quite accurate because we want it to slope from here to here, be flat, and then slope from here to here, okay? So we somehow have to indicate to Revit that we are going to slope and then stop and then slope again. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to split this boundary line. So I'm going to come up here to the split tool, or SL, get my little knife out, right? I'm going to go to that boundary edge where I want it to split, and where you want it to start sloping is where you split it. So at this top step here, click, and I've split it. Click, and I've split it. So now Revit knows that it's going to come up. We're going to, you know, move up, 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 flat, 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 move up, 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 up. Okay, so I have 1, 2, right? You could have drawn a line, hit escape, stopped, drawn another line, okay, and done it that way as well. All right, so I have my stair drawn. It looks pretty good. I'm going to hit finish. Cannot finish sketch. Sketch path needs to pass through all. Oh boy. What have I done here? Let me, where is my, cannot finish sketch. Sketched path needs to pass through all riser lines. Oh, okay. All right, so this is, we didn't always have to do this. We have a stair path here as well. And this will tell Revit, this is kind of a new requirement for 2018, which direction you're going to be moving in the stairs. How you're going to traverse the stair. Okay, so we're going to move this direction. Finish. Okay, so we have 3 things for a sketch stair. We have the boundaries, we have the treads, and then we have the direction of our stairs. I'm going to go into 3D mode and take a look at my stair. Now I haven't quite finished it. I finished the sketch. Oh, I can't quite look at it yet. I finished my sketch, but now it's kind of gone into an assembled stair. It looks sort of like an assembled stair here, right? Well, it's okay, we're done. We hit finish, and there is my stairway, okay? And it looks a little bit complicated, right? Let me go into a 3D mode and show you what it looks like. Oh, wrong side. Oop. Okay. There we go. I can kind of see my little stairs in there. Kind of nice, right? There we go. Pull this in a little more so we can take a look at it. Bring this down a tiny bit. There's, okay. So there's a nice view of my stairs, right? Looks pretty good. They start at the main level and they go up to the bottom of structure. Right, we probably should have had it go up to the top of this floor, but my levels are a little weird, as you all know. Okay, so it looks pretty good. Things you're gonna notice, right? We have risers, we have treads, we have a railing, right? I think when I first started using Revit, I was most impressed with the railings. It's like, wow, look at these railings. They just generate, they're so amazing, right? What I'm finding now with a little bit more experience in Revit is that they don't always work the way you want them to. And they're extremely hard to manipulate at times. And so, while they are nice, a lot of times I just delete them off. And I have kind of my own railing that I put in that I've customized, but you know, it's okay to have them in here, but just know that they may not function exactly how you want them to. If I select my railing, you're going to notice it's separate from the stairs. So the stairs are essentially hosting my railing, right? So the stairs are going to be separate. They're hosted on the railings are separate from my stair. If I click on my railing, over here under my properties dialog box, I have different railing type. Well, if I have them in here, I could have different railing types. So this is a guardrail, and it's a pipe guardrail. You can download railing families just like you would any other family, and you know, use those. Okay. All right. Any questions on stairs so far? Yep.
It doesn't look like it's even close to the second level.
Right, because I only define mine to bottom of structure.
Oh.
My level 2 is not functioning very well. Maybe I should try and delete it and replace it so it functions better. So my stair, when I click on it, it goes from main level up to bottom of structure. The top offset, let's make that like a foot. And now it's saying, hey, wait a second. You're changing the parameters here. You need to add a riser, right? So your stairs are not correct, right? So I'm not going to add a foot right now. When I'm in floor plan view, this, you know, again, we have the stairs looking the way they should. When I'm on the main level, wherever the cut line is, right, where my floor plan is cut, I get this little cut line. Anything above that is dashed. And the reason this looks so complicated is that I have not only the lines for my riser and my tread, right, these two dashed lines, one is showing the riser, one showing the tread length, but I also have these dashed lines for my railings and then an outer boundary dashed line, okay? So that's why I'm getting so many different dashed lines. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's like going into my wall, you know, is this right? So there are some things we'll change inside of the stair type, okay?
How do you put those little blue markers on your 3D so you can shrink it down to see it?
You mean the green markers? RP? You got it? Okay, yep.
Can you create a stair in space?
Yeah.
And then bring it into your project?
Yeah, absolutely. So stairs are not hosted items. They can stand alone. So if you wanted to generate a stair off to the side of your project and then move it in, you could do that, absolutely. So I can MV move this stair out into space and it functions just fine without walls around it. Yep. All right.
Section box, I can't hear you.
What are you looking for? Let me come over and look real quick. Oh, you're not gonna be able to.
I would do that. I would put it, I don't know if I have this conversation with you, but I have to talk about it. Look at the last assignment, it's titled like roof, so the roof floor or something like that.
Yeah.
And then there's no directions on how she wants to put the roof.
It's not defined yet.
I don't know, I would end up deleting it.
Okay. All right. So here's our stair, right? So if I look at it in 3D, oh, I have my section box is too restrictive right now, but there is my drawn stair. Okay. So we have an assembled stair and we have a drawn stair. Let me just, again, I want to remind you how an assembled stair works, right? Because you're going to try and decide which one do I want to use. And let me just talk a little bit, before I get into defining some of the actual elements of our stairs, I want to talk about kind of methodologies on how these work, right? Okay. Let me extend this out a little bit. What's that?
I screwed those stairs up.
It happens. All right, so I have my stair here. This stair, when I created it, this is a sketch stair. So let me just kind of talk through about the pros and cons. My sketch stair seemed to take probably longer than my assembled stair, right? When I came into architecture and I clicked on stair, and I just clicked on run, this is defined from main level to bottom of structure. With that dimension in mind, Revit says, hey, you need 14 risers. So I click and I go until whoa, this one's very long. Main level to bottom of structure, 14 risers, tread depth, 10 foot, I wanted 10 inches, not 10 foot. It's like, that's a very long stair. Click, click, right? And I hit finish. And there's my assembled stair. So, between these two stairs, immediately you're thinking, well, the assembled stair is a lot easier to use, right? I click, and it's defined, essentially, right? With a sketch stair, there's a lot more steps. I have to define a boundary. I have to define risers. I have to define where the stair starts to slope and where it doesn't slope, right? So there's a lot more definition in it. With an assembled stair, when I click on it, or when I look at it, I notice that I do have a railing, right? So that's not very different from my sketch stair. I do notice that with my assembled stair, I don't have kind of a landing built in, right? Okay, let me delete this. Let's talk about a landing really quick. So if I click on my run, I have one, if I click on my one set of stair, I'm going to do a few stairs, then I have to go back and create a landing. Okay, I'm just going to draw a little landing here. Make it kind of weird. Hopefully it'll work. Okay, I'm going to finish that. And then I'm going to create another run of stairs, maybe next to it. So here's kind of where we get a little bit of weirdness happening, right? So the landing right now, well, I'll show you another way of doing this. There's a lot to stairs. We're probably going to spend 2 days on stairs. The landing isn't always inherent in a set of assembled stairs, right? So we have to either draw a landing in here, which I did. Let me delete that. Or we have to come in here and we have to add a landing connecting two different runs. Okay. Sometimes it works, right? Sometimes it doesn't. But the landing isn't somewhat, and that's goofy obviously, but the landing isn't always inherent. Okay. So while the stairs are actually pretty easy to create, if I want a landing that, is any different direction or even a straight landing, I have to kind of stop building the stair, add the landing, and then connect the next stair to it, right? So that's kind of a negative in these two different stairs. As far as stair type, right, I can select this one, I can change the type. I can select this one, I can change the type. That's not really very different. But I guess with this, I just wanted to kind of show you the difference between the two different types of stairs. I think that when you first start using Revit, that you're immediately drawn to the assembled stairs because you think, oh, it's so much easier. I don't have to draw anything, right? I just click, 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 and it's finished. But I think after using Revit for a really long time, I found that the sketch stair tool is actually, it works a lot better than the assembled stair tool, right? You guys can make your minds up for yourselves. But I think that once you, what's that?
Did you go over select levels yet?
Select levels?
For your stairs?
How to select them?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go over the definition of it next. So I kind of wanted to show you how they all work, and then I'll show you how to define them. So I've kind of found that over the years that, while this seems very easy, right, it's actually kind of deceptive because it doesn't always work exactly the way you want it, and it's actually very restrictive, right? So while I think that when you first start using Revit, you tend to move towards using an assembled stair, I think my best advice for this would be to really consider using a sketch stair first. There's a little bit more upfront work. You have to define things. You have to think about it a little bit more, but it usually functions a lot better. Okay. All right, let's get into kind of some of the definitions of stairs, right? How do we define the levels? How do we define the stair types? How do we add and remove elements from our stairs? Okay. Does it make sense? First of all, like this opening here, how we made the opening in the floor for the stairs. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So we're gonna have to, number one, think about the opening. But let's look at actually defining our stairs and what elements are in our stairs and how we manipulate those items. Okay.
So I have a question.
Uh-huh.
If I define my opening, my stairs, but my ceiling still showing up, is that one like view ranges? Or
No, you'll have to define your ceiling to go around the opening.
so I have to define my ceiling.
Yep. Yeah. So now this is the argument with, hey, if I just had created a shaft opening, it would have screened out my ceiling and my floor, right? So there's kind of an argument for a shaft opening, but then again, you have this object in space that can easily move. So you're either stuck with defining all of your elements around this stairway opening, meaning you have to change the opening of your ceiling, you have to change the opening of your floor, and you have to coordinate those if they move, right? And then if you add another floor finish on top of that, you have to coordinate that with the opening. Hopefully you only do it once, right? But then it's done and it's stationary and it's not going to move. Whereas if you create a shaft opening for your stairs to live in, then you don't have to kind of worry about creating openings, but you have to worry about that shaft opening moving around, right? So whatever's going to work best for you. All right, so let's look at our stairs. I'm going to click on stair here again, and let's talk about some of the how we define it essentially. Okay, we have our stair type over here in our properties, right? And if I use my drop-down menu, you see that we have an assembled stair. We have a that is wood framed, right? Meaning it has the stringers and it has the risers and the treads, right? We have a cast-in-place stair. You know, it's monolithic, something like concrete, okay? And then we have a precast stair, similar to this concrete monolithic stair, okay? So let's just look at, I'm going to look at one type of stair for today, and I'm going to go through it, and then when we meet on Wednesday, we'll talk about stairs again, and we'll define like cast-in-place stairs. I click on my assembled stair. This is descriptive. It tells me the maximum riser height, and it tells me the maximum or the minimum tread length, okay? It tells me in my properties dialog box here where I'm going to start my stair and where it's going to stop. So your question, how do I define my stair, right? It's very much how you define a wall. Kind of the best practice is to go to the level you want the wall to start on, and then that will automatically define your base level, and then you're going to be left to define your top level, okay? Not to say that I couldn't be on my main level here and change this to upper level, right? But the easier way to go about it is to navigate to the level they're going to start on and then define the upper level, okay? So I'm going to define my base level as the main level, and my top level is, for me, I'm just going to leave mine as, we'll go up to level 4. We'll go up to level 4. Okay, that gives me 18 risers with this parameter set. All right, let's say we want to change this. So we don't want to have this as our stair type anymore. I'm going to hit edit type, duplicate. We will call this, we'll make this something weird, like 9 inches with a, this be really steep, with a 10-inch tread. Okay. All right, so we've just essentially changed our stair type here, right? When we change a wall type, we select the wall that is most similar to the wall we want to create, we duplicate it, we rename it, and then we redefine it, right? So redefine means you open up the structure and you change the structure, you add finishes, you remove things that you don't need, right? That redefines your wall. The same thing is going to happen here with your stairs, right? I chose the stair most similar to the one that I wanted to generate. I duplicated it, I renamed it, and now I'm going to redefine it, right? Just like I would a wall type. But this is different from a wall type in that I just have different things that I need to define, right? So instead of a core structure, core boundary, finishes, you know, different things like that, I have things that are related to stairs. So the riser height, the tread depth, the run width. We're not going to worry about calculation rules, but not only do I need to worry about, you know, how tall and wide things are, but what are these elements going to look like, right? So am I going to have a stringer on both sides? Is it going to be open or closed? What is the width of the stringer, right? Is it 2 inches or is it different than that, right? Do I want an open riser, meaning there's no riser present, right? So a lot of things in this stair properties dialog box need to be defined. Okay, so let's just start at the top. Okay, this is a 9-inch max riser with a 10-inch tread. So my riser, instead of being 7 3/4, I'm going to change it to 9 inches. And the tread, instead of being 10 foot, 10 inches. Let's add, how wide do we want these? Let's make these 3 feet wide instead of 5 foot. Okay, so I'm just defining my stairway. Now, I can redefine these. It's very easy to redefine them, right? We can make them whatever we want. Let's see, for the run type, 2-inch tread, 1-inch nosing, 1/4-inch riser, right? I click here and I can redefine all of those elements. So instead of 2-inch tread thickness, we'll do 1.5 inches. The nosing length, 0.5. Riser thickness, 1/2 inch again, right? So you're just going to look in here, and depending on what you want these to be, you can edit them. I'm going to hit OK. And I really think that kind of just starting at the top of your stair definition and moving all the way down is the best way of doing it, because there's a lot of information in here. Okay. Landing type, right? Click over here and it will ask me what kind of landing. Same as the run. It's great. What kind of function? Is this an interior stair or an exterior stair? I'm going to click over here. Let's do interior. Okay, so again, you can just, we'll do no stringers. We won't have any stringers. Right support, none. You'll see what it looks like. Left support, none. Okay, middle support, sure. Let's add a middle support. The middle support, what is it going to look like? I click over here. Well, it's going to be, we'll make it large, 4 inches. Okay. Looks pretty good. And then we have a cut mark. You know that little cut mark that shows where our view range ends? Let me, oh, they give you a little graphic now. Here we go. Okay, do I want it to be a single or a double? That's office preference, right? Let's do a double zigzag just for the sake of doing a double zigzag. So single line, double line. Okay. Now this is more identity data, like what is the keynote associated with this? Things we're not going to worry too much about. So I lied when I said we're just going to start at the top and go all the way down. We're just going to go to graphics. Okay, so by duplicating this stair, renaming it, and now redefining it and hitting OK, I've created a new stair type. 9-inch max riser, 10-inch tread. This stair is defined from main level up to level 4 for me. That means I need 16 risers. Okay, this riser, remember it's 9 inches. If I change this back to the 7-inch riser, do you see how it changes to 18? Right, so Revit is that quickly recalculating the stairs for me when I change the type. Okay. All right, now I need to decide, so I have sort of defined where it starts, where it stops, and all of its different sort of measurements or dimensions, right? Now I need to decide what type of stair I want to create. Do I want it assembled and start creating elements, right? Like the stair and then the landing and then the stair. Or do I want to start creating a sketch? Okay. Again, I think my best advice is to sketch. I know it's a little bit more work, but I feel like you get a better stair. Okay. So I'm just going to choose create a sketch for now. All right. So I have all of my normal drawing tools that we all know how those function. I also want to point out that we have some options here, right? We have a chain, we have offset, and we have radius, okay? So chain means that if I click on a drawing tool, I can click, 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 and I can keep moving. If that is unchecked, I have to click, and it does one piece at a time and then stops, okay? So chain is pretty nice because it allows you to continue the command, okay? if I click on this, I also have offset. So offset means, hey, you're drawing a stairway and you know that it has to be held off the wall 6 inches, right? So I could type in here 0, 6 inches, enter. And then as I draw my stair objects, right, like my boundary, you see how it's held off the wall 6 inches. Okay. Click, 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 right? Really helpful. 6 inches. Click. Oh, it's on the wrong side. I'm going to space bar. Click, 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 escape. There we go. Okay. So I just created my boundary. Next I need to create my risers. Click. And my risers, oops, that went a little bit too far, didn't it? I'm going to trim that back or just drag it back, right? Here we go. So I have my riser defined, click. I have some of the same options. I have offset and I have chain. So if I wanted to draw treads, do something like 10 inches, right? Click, click, oop, click, oop. There we go, okay. I'm having to, do you see how I'm having to space bar? Click, escape, click, space bar, click, escape, click, space bar, click, escape. And I think if I do another one, oh no, it worked, there we go. Okay, all right, we're just kind of drawing these. All right, so I've got 8 remaining, so click, click, escape. And I'm getting that offset, right, because it is defined here. Click, click, escape, click, click, escape. So I could have also copied these risers. I've got 2 remaining. I'm going to draw 1 more up here, and I'm going to hit escape, escape. I've got a little bit of boundary extending past there, so I need to fix that. But I want to do 1 final riser without an offset, and I want it to line up with this one. So click. Oh, that was a boundary. Riser. Click, click. There we go. Now my boundary is extending past here. I don't want that, so I'm going to click on it and drag this back. Click, drag it back. Okay, looks pretty good. 16 risers created, 0 remaining, right? And I have to create a stair path. Click. I'm going to start here, click. I'm going to go up to my landing, click, move in this direction, click, move all the way up to there, click. Okay, I can move this line back and forth. I'm nudging it with my arrows, right? Graphically, I kind of want it in the center probably. Looks pretty good, right? One thing, final thing, don't forget that, I'm going to make this error. I'll let it error and then you can see what happens. I'm going to hit finish. Great, finish. Okay, my stair looks pretty good, right? And I'm going to go into 3D. Let's see, let's go into my sectional box here. This is really where you're going to make friends with your section box here, because stairs, I mean, it's really one of those things where I very literally, when I'm working on a large project, I very literally keep my stair section open, my section region like this on one screen, right? And I've got my stair, I'm drawing it on the other screen, and I go back and forth between the two. Stairs are one of those things where you just kind of have to look at them every time you make a move. Oh, it worked. Well, shoot, I was hoping to get an error. Okay, but it looks, the error that I was hoping to happen, let me show you, was that I did not split that line right there, right? And of course it worked, but generally what you will get is if you forget to split it, it will just diagonal, it'll, you know, angle up all the way to here, and it would look weird and kind of turn and then angle back up. So it'll look off, right? And it's easy to go back and kind of fix that, okay? But didn't happen in this case. So there's my stair. Let's isolate it. I'm going to grab my stair and my railings. I'm going to come down to my sunglasses, click on it, isolate element. So I can just kind of take a peek at it. Right? I don't have any stringers. Do you see on the side? I don't have any stringers. I should have had one. Oh, I do have one. There's one in the center right there. You can kind of see it, right? It's not showing up on the bottom one, which is kind of odd. Okay. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to hit Edit Type. And let's make a few changes, and let's see what those changes look like as I look at the stair. Okay, so I'm going to click on this stair, Edit Type. Stairs have so many pieces associated with them. In order for you to get to know them really well, you honestly kind of have to do an exercise like this where you go in and you look at it and you say, huh, what if I add the right support? Okay, what does that look like? Apply. And you see that appear right there. Did you see that? Oh, okay. Let me choose none. Apply. Oh, it goes away. Okay. Let's add one onto the left side. Open. Apply. Oh, okay. Well, that's what that looks like, right? Let's choose that stair again. Oop, click. Okay. Edit type. Let's do middle support. We'll do 0. No middle support. And we'll have a right support and a left support. So I'm going to change this to closed, and we'll change that one to closed so there's the same on both sides. Click, right? And you see that stair, how I get that stringer on both sides, right? Let's look at, let's see. I'm going to change the width of this to 5 feet. This might work, it might not. Nope, it didn't work. Okay. When you were working with stairs, I made a change to this, right? A lot of these changes are instantaneous. So if I change the run to, look different, it changes. If I change the landing, it changes. If I change the supports, they change, right? At times, because the stair has been generated and it's been calculated based on kind of these parameters, a 9-inch rise, a 10-inch run, a 5-foot width, it doesn't always generate, instantaneously. So if you have to change an important parameter, one of these structural parameters essentially, you're going to have to recreate the stair. So I can change the type, but then I'm going to have to go back and recreate the stair because when you change these, it changes how many treads you have, it changes how many risers you have, right? The width doesn't obviously always change that, right? But it didn't update here, so it's not working, right? But you can change a lot of things and have them instantaneously change. Okay. One thing that I'm looking for here, I was looking for the riser. I want to do an open riser. Right support, left support. Huh. Usually there's a little checkbox that says, I think they may have changed this in 2018 a little bit more than I had thought. There's a little checkbox that says riser, and you can uncheck it and it goes away. But I might have something defined that's not allowing that. Let's do none. None. Yeah, I'm not getting my risers. Okay, anyway. All right, so that is my stair. And again, it might be a little bit extra work, but I still really feel like you'll have a lot more control, and I think your stairs will work a lot better if you use a sketch stair, okay? I'm gonna unisolate this, reset, and there's my stair in my house. Now, I'm gonna go into a floor plan view of this sketch stair, main level. And I have a little up arrow here, right? If I click on my stair, there it is, okay? A couple things you wanna notice. I've got my little up arrow here, right? I've got this little arrow right here. So this will show me that I do, travel up, 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 right? And if I go to my level 4, right, I get my little down arrow, down, 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 down. Okay, great. What you're seeing when I click on my stair, this little blue arrow, this will flip the direction of your stairs, right? So when you're creating your stairs and you define the path from here to here, that defines what direction the stairs, you circulate the stairs in, right? This little arrow, if you had shown the direction incorrectly, if I click on that, you see how it changes it. So now if I go into 3D, my stairs are opposite. Let me undo that, Control Z, see how they were like that? Okay, so I click, I can change the direction of them, okay? All right,
I still haven't figured out how to get rid of that ceiling.
how to get rid of the what, sorry?
The ceiling.
Okay, so if we had a ceiling in here, okay, ceilings and floors function exactly the same. So I would select my ceiling in a floor plan view, meaning I'm going to go to my ceiling plan here, and then you're going to click on your ceiling and hit Edit Boundary, and you're going to draw the same outline as your floor. Did that work?
Wait, where's that about?
Select your ceiling,
Okay.
and at the top here it should say Edit Boundary. Did that work? Let's look. Okay, so tab until you can select your ceiling. So near the edge. Tab. Walls, silent. Are you in your ceiling plan? Well, select this in the ceiling plan. And then here is where you would use your lines It's I'm not gonna say it's easy, it's kind of a pain in the neck. Coordination. Okay. All right. So there's my sketch stair, right? Okay. So we're going to define our stairs, whatever they need to be, right? We have a railing. Again, we can find railings, you know, online. We can bring them in their family, and you can change the railing that, you know, you're using. Okay. I have purged my drawing, and so all my railings that weren't being used are gone. But in your file, you should have a couple, like 3 or 4 different railing types that you can choose. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? I'm going to take one more day on stairs because there are some other things about stairs we need to talk about. But I wanted to get you kind of going on the basic idea of a stair. Okay. So that's a sketch stair, and I'm, again, heavily favoring sketch stairs over assembled stairs just because, again, I feel like they work a lot better, right? But if you do happen to want to use an assembled stair, let's talk about an assembled stair. I'm going to leave my stair here, and I'm going to draw another one out to the side of my floor plan, okay? I'm going to click on stair, and with my assembled stair, I have a run, I have a landing, I have a support, right? I have all these different tools that will allow me to create assembled stairs. And then you're going to notice down here, before, you know, if I switch to sketch, I go into a sketch mode, and I'm allowed to sketch the shape of my stair, right? If I don't click on that and I just remain on a straight stair, I have some different drawing options available here for my actual assembled stair, right? I have, hey, where do you want to draw it from? From the center of the stair, from the left, from the right? And that's really gonna, the line that you draw the stair from is really gonna be dependent on where the stair is in your project, right? So it would be helpful to draw it maybe from the left side if I'm tracing the outer boundary here, and then the right side if I'm tracing the boundary here, okay? Center is a pretty good, safe way to draw. Hold on, I'm gonna go back to my main level real quick. Okay, there we are. Do that again, stair, okay. So, and then I have offset. Again, you know, if I'm drawing offset functions exactly the same as if I were sketching a stair. So if I'm drawing from, you know, let's choose the left, and I want to have a 1 foot offset, right? Do you see how that stair is offsetting 1 foot? Okay. I'm not going to completely draw it just yet because I want to show you some other things. but offset functions exactly the same as it will for a sketch stair. So I have a location line to draw my stair from with an assembled stair. I have an offset, and I can choose to define the run here, right? So if I have a stair type selected, I can manipulate the stair run width right here, okay? And then I also have automatic landing chosen. Now, I can choose to, and when we do monolithic stairs on Wednesday, I'll show you how to do more of a manual landing. But what an automatic landing will allow you to do, it will allow you to create 2 different runs of stairs that then connect automatically with a landing, okay? Very self-explanatory, right? So all of the same principles apply for definition of an assembled stair as they do to a sketch stair. So I choose my assembled stair type over here, 9-inch maximum riser, 10-inch treads. I define the base level, main level, and I define the top level. We'll do level 4 again, okay? I can choose a base or top offset if I want, but you'll notice that my risers and my treads are automatically defined. So with a tall riser like 9 inches, I get 16, right? And if I change it to 7, I get 18 risers, okay? So I'm gonna change this back to my 10-inch tread. All right, now the difference between a sketch stair and an assembled stair, the way that I'm gonna draw them, I'm gonna choose my run here, and I'm gonna choose like this straight run. I'm going to only draw, you see how it will allow me to draw all 16 of those risers at one time? If I draw all 16 of those risers at one time, I essentially have drawn a straight set of stairs without a landing, right? If I want to draw a landing in between those, I only draw half of them, or whatever number I need, 7, click, and then I come over here somewhere, click, and I'm going to draw the rest of them. Now, because I've chosen automatic landing, do you see how it automatically generates a landing? You see that? Okay. The trick with this landing is that, I'm going to hit escape, I haven't drawn all of my stairs. You know, if I'm too close to this stair when I click, or in a weird spot, do you see it's not really able to draw a landing, right? Okay, I'm going to come up over here. Well, that's better, I guess, right? Okay, I'm going to come over here. Okay, that's better. If I get too close, then the landing looks weird, right? Maybe you guys are, actually, I think a lot more guesswork in kind of drawing this the right way, right? I could choose my left run here and do it like that, right? But if it were some distance off, it would be a little bit harder to control, right? Okay, click, and there's my second stair. You see that we have all of the same kind of objects in this assembled stair that I do a sketch stair. I have my path, right? I have my boundary, and then I have my risers. Okay, when I'm done, I hit finish, and there's my stair, right? I go into 3D mode, okay, and I'm going to, oh, where's my section box is cropping out that other stair. Let me, there we go. So there it is right there. Okay, now you're seeing that this stair is being defined by the same stair type, 9-inch max riser, 10-inch tread, right, as this stair. Okay, so I don't see any stringers on the side. I could hit edit type, and I could change that if I wanted, right, support, closed, right, left support, closed. We'll do a middle support, 1, we'll do 2, okay, there we go. Okay, all right. Any questions so far? Yep.
So when you edit type, are you only editing it for this particular file?
No, you're editing it for the, so if, I'm assuming you're asking, so if I select the stair and I hit edit type, and I change any of these parameters, it changes that type. So any stair that's using that type with that same name is changed.
In any model?
Well, in the current model you're in.
In the current model?
Yeah, not any other models.
Ah.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions so far? No? Okay. Let me, I'm gonna open up a new file, and I'm going to draw some quick walls. There we go. Okay. I go into 3D. There's my house, my quick house that I've created, right? I go into my levels and I see I have a level 1 and a level 2. That's great. Okay. I'm going to draw a stair in here, and I opened up a new file because my old file I purged. I've been messing around with it too much. I don't have any railing types, but I do want to show you how to create a railing type, or how to edit a railing type. Okay. So I'm going to come up here to architecture. I go over here to stair, click. I'm just going to create an assembled stair. I'm going to use the out-of-the-box 7-inch max riser, 11-inch tread. I want to define this to go from level 1 up to level 2. All right. And I'm just going to do a straight run. So click, click. There we go. Finish. I go into 3D. There's my little stair. Looks pretty good. I'm going to close out of this. If I wanted to look at a section of this, I could come up here to my section cut and draw a little section through it. Click, click. There's my stair in section, right? I usually get oohs and ahs, right? Those of you in AutoCAD that have cut sections through stairs. Isn't it wonderful? Look how easy it is in Revit. Oh my gosh. Has anybody ever drawn a section of a spiral staircase? It's the most painful thing I think I've ever done in my entire life. When in AutoCAD, at least, right? All right, so I have my stair and I have my railing. I'm gonna go into 3D again. This railing it's rectangular, right? It's different than the other railing. If I click on my railing here, okay, I can use my drop down, and there are a few different railings that are inherent in your out-of-the-box Revit, right? So I click on glass panel. Oop, glass panel. Shade it. Look at that. Everybody's always wowed by, and I'll admit I was wowed by railings at first too. Right? Or I could have a pipe handrail, right? Or I could do the rectangular again, right? So I can click on these railings and I can change them, you know, depending on what I want them to look like. I'm not going to show you how to change the actual construction of a railing right now, but I do want to show you how to draw one in case you don't like the way it's drawn on your staircase here, okay? And I say that because usually when you generate a stair, let me do another stair. I'm going to create just a straight stair here again. Click, click, and we will draw. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to hit finish. What I don't like about the stair tool is that it I don't even know why I drew these walls. Let's just look at the stairs. What I don't like about this tool is that, you know, usually you'll have a railing that goes up, 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 and then it stops unless this is like an exterior stair, right? Because you have a wall right here and a wall right here, and it goes up, 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 and then, you know, so really you don't have kind of this railing right here, okay? So I'm going to go to my main level, and I'm going to show you how we can kind of draw a railing on this stairway. Railings are separate from a stair, but they are hosted on the stair. Okay, I just want to make that clear. And so I can click on that railing and hit delete, and it goes away. Click on that railing and hit delete, and it goes away. So that in 3D, right, this is what it looks like now. All right. If I happen to want to bring the railing back because I deleted it on accident, railings are actually really easy to draw. I come up here to the architecture tab, and I come over here to railing, drop down, and I have two options. I have sketch a path and place on stair or ramp. If I click on place on ramp or stair, I can choose my stair. I can choose the treads or the stringers. I'm just going to click on treads. I click on my stair and there it goes, right? I can regenerate it very easily. I can click on the railing and choose the one I want. Great. Okay. I can delete it again if I don't like it. Delete, delete. If I happen to not like, you know, where it is generating that railing, I can draw a railing. Let me go back here to the railing tool using a path. Click. Okay. Railings, when you draw a railing, you draw them in singular straight lines, meaning your first inclination is likely when you're drawing a railing to draw one on this side, right? and then a second one on this side. But Revit won't allow you to do that unless it's connected, okay? So I can draw one railing at a time. I'm gonna click here, click escape. Railings are very much like boundary lines in stairs where you have to define where they break, right? So it slopes from here to here and it breaks. Click. Well, I don't want a railing over on this edge. Okay, so that's good. Finish. Uh-oh, right? I've drawn a railing that goes from here to there, but it's not resting on my stair, okay? If I click on my railing, there's pick a new host, which I then choose my stair and it hosts to the stair, okay? So I've got my railing. I can do my next little piece of railing down here. And if I had drawn this railing and this railing in the same sketch, it would have malfunctioned. So I have to draw my railings in pieces. Finish. Oh, it didn't quite work. Pick new host. Click. Oop. There's my stairway, right? If there were a wall back there, that would make sense. I can grab my railing. I can move it. MV, move. Oh, pick new host. It unhosted. It really unhosted. Ooh. Oh, I'm gonna undo. I think the reason it's happening is because when I moved it off of the treads and it actually was defined on the treads, right? So if I had defined it on the stringer, it would have worked, but it's not recognizing the host. It wants to be on the treads, right? I can grab this railing and I can mirror it. If I wanted to create an identical instance on the other side, I could mirror, right? Mirror that. Here we go. Okay. All right, so railings. Railings can be finicky, just like a lot of other things in Revit. All right, so I think I'm going to stop there. We're going to talk about stairs for one more day. And what I really want to go back over how to create them one more time. I'll redefine, right, assembled versus sketched. And then I want to talk about how to edit them. So once you have them created, how can you alter them, okay? And then on Wednesday, I'm going to assign your midterm project. I'm not going to assign you a stair homework just yet. The reason I'm not going to is because you're going to add stairs to your midterm project, okay? Any questions so far? Yep.
How do I do that boundary over boundary again?
Boundary, what do you mean? How do you do what? Say that again.
I did my cut boundary, those pink lines.
Uh-huh.
You can't put it over another pink line.
Oh, you mean for the floor?
Well, for the ceiling.
For the ceiling. All right, so let me open up my other drawing here. There it is. Okay. So what Corey is asking is, I am looking at my main level ceiling plan, and let me just create a ceiling. I'll just auto sketch one. Here we go. And the problem he's having is he has created a hole in the floor, but that hole in the floor is great, except the ceiling's in the way, right? So I'm going to tab, and I'm going to look down here to find my ceiling. Tab, compound ceiling, click. I'm going to hit edit boundary. And I'm going to follow the outline of my, this is not how I want it. I'm going to follow the outline of my stairs. So essentially, I'm going to draw a U shape like that and come back down to the exterior wall and join it like that, right? Because what currently probably how yours looks is that you have this line that goes like that, right? And then you had a hole in the floor that looked somewhat like this, right? and you're thinking, I want to grab this and I want it to move down to there, but I can't do that because I can't have the lines overlapping, right? So I'm going to delete that one, and then I'm going to, if I can't get rid of this line, I'm going to, right, if this is a continuous piece, I'm going to use the split tool, SL, split, right there, click, and trim it, TR. Mine is a separate piece, so I just delete mine out. But essentially yours is going to come up and it's going to go around. And I'm going to hit finish, and there's my opening. So now, when I look in 3D, right, I have my opening and I have my ceiling opening. Did that work for you? Okay. Let me undo that. I'll make the split tool work. Okay. So this, in your model, would have looked like that, right? It's one piece. Okay, so I'm going to come up here to split, click, come down, click in the middle, click. It's like break in AutoCAD, right? You broke the line, click, escape, and then trim, TR, click, 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 click. Did that work? And then you hit finish. There you go. Okay. All right, so we'll end there, and we'll talk about we'll talk about editing stairs and a few more